In this episode, we welcome Ed Pyke to the podcast. He shares his journey from being a young kitchen porter in a golf course to now being the MD of Simpson Travel, the provider of exclusive handbag villas and boutique hotels across Europe. He discusses his early experiences in the travel and hospitality industry, the importance of customer experience, and the unique position that Simpson Travel now holds in the market. Ed emphasises the significance of relationships and leadership in his current role, as well as the challenges and opportunities that he and his fellows have all faced in the COVID-19 pandemic. Together we explore the importance of maintaining customer loyalty during transactions and understanding market trends in travel, as well as a shift towards local experiences. Finally, Ed reflects on his early career learnings and the value of seizing opportunities, and of course, listening to his dad. Enjoy. Hi Ed, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi Steve, thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Right, I'm looking forward to this because we're talking about travel, which is one of my favourite subjects. As you've probably seen, if you've seen some of the past episodes, we always kind of kick off so that our listeners can get some idea of who Ed the man is, how he's got to this position, a bit of background. You go back as far as you want. I have had someone say I was born, but it's up to you. But it's interesting to show, because we have some younger listeners, and again, to understand where you begin your career and where you end up, both either in area of business or type or sector, it can be really different. And sometimes when you've done that learning, you're at a better place when you're, a little bit older, let's say. More mature.
Indeed.
So yeah, go on, give us that history, buddy.
So, I've always had travel or hospitality, which I kind of consider as very sister industries, because it suits my CV rhetoric, in my blood, I would say. And I think going out to work when you're young and trying to get that kind of work ethic is always key, when you're growing up. And so I started when I was 16, first job, working as a kitchen porter in a golf club. For the summer, going in, washing the dishes, helping the chefs, taking in stock deliveries, etc. And that was quite fun. When you're 16, you get a little bit of money in your pocket to spend on things, and it sort of kick-started the sort of inspiration of this is the kind of environment, the kind of serving others, serving people, in a meaningful way, even in a back of house scenario like that, where your kind of customer is the chefs, really. It was something I wanted to pursue, and I did various things after that, a bit of retail, etc. But I'd always grown up doing kind of European camping holidays with my folks, so the likes of Eurocamp and Canvas holidays, etc. Every summer we'd go off to France or Italy or Spain, and I kind of looked at these guys over abroad. They're having a pretty good time. They're English, they're young, they're working over here in France, etc. They're on their own.
Yeah.
And so
sunshine, let's go for that.
sun shining, a few beers in the evening.
Yeah.
And so I applied. I had to take a train up to Eurocamp's head office in Cheshire when I was 17 or so to do the interview. And they let me in. They let me through the door. And I was my 18th birthday, which was in May, and due to go out in sort of July, post A levels, etc., to France. Bit of a wobble moment, I remember distinctly at that point.
It's a big thing to do.
I'm 18.
That,
all my friends are staying in. No one is doing this. They're all staying, living at home. Partying down in Bournemouth, where I'm from, for the summer. And my dad turned to me and he said, and I said, I'm not sure I'm going to go. I think I might pull out of this because it seems, just a massive change in my life. And I was due to do a gap year as well afterwards, and didn't really have much plans for that. But I said, I'm not sure if I can do this. And he said, no, you basically said you're going.
Your mother and I have rented your room out.
We're sorted. We're done. We want a summer without you. You're going. And I just went with it. I I had a great summer uh, working overseas in the Vendée in France with a group of 20, 25 other people. Yeah, on my own when I was 18, learning, resourcefulness, resilience from being in that kind of holiday rep style environment, jack of all trades, etc. There's a team of about 5 or 6 people that I was working closely with, cleaning tents and mobile homes in the morning, welcoming customers in the afternoon, and it was brilliant fun. And that started that. It was a kind of spark moment, really. I said, I want to keep doing
Yeah.
this. I did it again in my gap year, and I did it all the way through university. Every not just the summers, every Easter's, the 4 week university gap, I was taken to go and ring up Eurocamp. Do you need any help over in France or Italy or whatever
Yeah.
this Easter? And I was off and away. I just loved exploring new cultures, new areas, getting out and about and visiting new cities, towns, immersing yourself in the local culture. I loved the customer side of things as well. I loved, delivering a highly emotional product to someone, something that people have saved all year for, in
Hmm.
travel, saved up for, had it in their mind, talked about it at home constantly. It was all channeling into this week that they had abroad in the summer, etc., with their family. So a lot of kind of pressure to deliver
Yeah.
the holiday experience. But I loved that level of it. I loved the kind of customer side of it. Um, and when I was going to the end of uni, you get the kind of milk round, as they call it, the graduate fairs. What do you want to do? And I'd done a bit of retail back. I'd worked for Sainsbury's a bit before when I was growing up and stuff. Um, and I thought, oh well, retail's quite an obvious area, so I applied to the graduate management programs of ASDA and M&S and Lidl and things like that. And it didn't. I went through the process, and I was thinking, well, it's not really that fun selling a pint of milk to someone for
Yeah.
45p or whatever it was then. I much prefer this kind of having a holiday on the weight of my shoulders moment and that delivery. So I just went back into I just stayed with it, stayed with Eurocamp after uni, and then went to Canvas for 4 or 5 years and ended up running all of their overseas operation in the south of Europe, so across southern France and
Yeah.
Italy and Spain. I had about, I think, about 30 sites and about 200 people. What age would I have been then? Sort of 200 people, some of which were maintenance teams who were kind of in their retirement era, in their 50s,
Yeah.
thinking, why is this 22-year-old lad
Who's this upstart
boss,
ordering me
etc.
around?
Yeah. And that teaches you a lot as well about leadership and different leadership styles, etc., and how to get the best
Yeah.
out of people and motivate people.
And how you have to be somewhat of a chameleon, don't you, with
You
those
do,
different types of
you
people
do.
to
When you're working
ensure.
with such, age range, and I was working with Dutch and German employees as well, so cultural differences. And yeah, it was a really good run. Learnt a lot. Loved the industry, but I was kind of getting to the back end of my twenties, going, I can't be abroad forever. Essentially,
Yeah.
it's great
So a
fun.
lot of that was actually on sites,
A
was it?
lot
It
of
was
it, yeah. I was
literally,
doing the
yeah.
winters in. I was working for Canvas Holidays at this point. Their head office was back then was in Dunfermline in
Yeah,
Scotland.
it
So I
was
was
up in
doing the
Scotland, wasn't
winters
it? Yeah,
in
yeah,
Scotland, and then I was doing the summers abroad, traveling around. It was great. It was great experience, but you know, I was missing stuff at home and birthdays and starting to miss weddings and things like that. I couldn't get home, all that kind of stuff, and I kind of just started thinking, it's probably the time that I need to move back to the UK and find something in the UK. Um, and so that's what I did. Moved back, quit Canvas without a job, so I wasn't sort of searching for anything. Moved back southern England. Lived just north of Brighton at that point, and started to look for something. And it was fairly difficult, I would say, to look for something at that stage of your life, when you've done a lot of travel experience, and people kind of probably thought, well, you've just bummed around in Europe and
yeah,
drunk
yeah,
beer for a lot, and they didn't really
yeah.
see the transferable, skill set, I would say, of trying to get into, head office travel jobs in the UK. So I probably had about 3 or 4 months of being out of work and applying for stuff. Um, and I remember applying for Premier Inn and Whitbread, and it was a central London job, hotel manager of the biggest Premier Inn in London at that time, 314 bedrooms. It turned over about 15 million a year,
Wow.
70 or 80 team, and I applied for it. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this, but it might get me an interview with the recruiter there might be
Exactly. Who
another
knows
local
what
Premier
doors
Inn.
would open?
It would do something. And they gave me the job of that. So I did that for about a year, and then I progressed through the ranks of Premier Inn and did various different regional jobs, and did some time back down where I'm originally from in Bournemouth, running 7 or 8 hotels down there. Ended up running about 16, 18 hotels in West London. Loved it. Really good. Excellent exposure to it, kick-starting my career properly.
Yeah.
FTSE 100 company, excellent leadership development programs,
I'm going to say they're
etc.
very well known in our world, for giving really good training and development.
Very
as a
good
business,
training,
Whitbread.
very good
Yeah.
sort of commercial understanding, and what it did do at the time as well is it really solidified what I wanted to do around customer experience. Because Premier Inn had a very, very high level of commitment to customer experience. Their sort of good night guarantee of
Yeah.
if something goes wrong, we'll just give you your money back. Was a huge kind of USP in the industry at that point, and it really cemented that my career was going to be around always delivering a fantastic customer experience. I did a brief stint with Green King, the brewers, the brewery, restaurants, and a few
Yeah.
hotels as head of customer experience for them. But I was quickly headhunted after I joined Green King. I got a call from a recruiter. Do you want to be ops director in a travel company? I've just started at Green King. I said I don't really think I can leave after 6 months, but send me the CV and I will come back to you with a load of names. I'll recommend some people who would be good for that job. And I got the job description over, and I read it and I thought, this looks fantastic. This looks fabulous. And so I went with that process and joined Simpson Travel originally as back in 2017 as the operations director.
Amazing. So you've been there 8 years now.
Yeah, and grown through that time as well, taken on new opportunities. We've had, I'm sure you'll probably mention it at some point anyway. So let's get it out of the way now. COVID, the horrible bit in the sort of middle of those 7-8 years, which disrupted everything, but also gave me further opportunities because I sort of took on a couple more jobs there through restructuring. I became essentially the COO of the company in the kind of post-COVID era, and got the opportunity to be involved in 2 corporate finance initiatives for the company, a kind of Brewdog style crowdfunding campaign first, and then a full company, taking the company to market sale process as a second point. And that has seen me transition into the MD CEO of Simpson today.
Brilliant. I'm going to say, I knew this story was interesting. I think it's the longest opening answer. Congratulations. But
Apologies. I need to control
no.
my answering time.
Not at all. I love it because 2 things. One, it's very interesting listening there in terms of the passion that you have, which some people forget. So I've always been in agency world, and I've always been aware my role is service, and that if my clients aren't happy, we haven't got a business. Whereas I believe some in our world, and you maybe share that they're in yours, where they go, bloody clients, this, that, and the other, and they don't realise that however grand, however big our titles are, if you pick up that phone and someone's not happy, you are the one that's got to sort it, because we don't. But to your point, I love that feeling of a happy client or a successful project. It's just brilliant.
It's just, I mean, as I said, going back to Whitbread, I learned a couple of things. I learned the service profit chain from Harvard Business School. Right, start with your team. They look after you. They look after your guest. Get that right, and then profit flows. So always
Yeah,
concentrate the majority of your leadership time in those sort of first two buckets, and profit will just be the result with the result of it at the end.
yeah,
And I also kind of along with that, really I learnt about this concept of net promoter score, which is
yeah.
always with me as a kind of guiding North Star KPI principle from those days, and something that at Simpson we're incredibly obsessed with as a number one KPI for what we do, really making sure we've got the net promoter score right, because that predicts your long-term customer retention and growth.
100%. So what's your score at?
Ours bobbles around the sort of early 80s, so it's
80s.
in the 80s. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
When I joined, we were kind of at, I think we were about 67%, and the industry average for specialist tour operators, as defined by ATO, that the trade body that represents a large proportion of independent tour operators, is about 67.
yeah.
So we were on average when I joined, and we've slowly built that up.
Brilliant. Because if
It's
people don't know, obviously, if you have a positive net promoter score, you're doing all right. But I know your sector's very much like that because of the service it gives. But to get it up to 80s is what an achievement. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's amazing because people didn't believe it could be done. Limiting
Yeah,
beliefs of how high can this go, and there is a sort of law of diminishing returns. I do believe with net
yeah.
promoter, you can't just keep throwing money and effort at it.
Those bribes are working.
Exactly. So you do get to a sort of level that you're comfortable with. But yeah, you're right, Steve. In various different industries, maybe travel is naturally towards that end of the spectrum. But if you were working for a mobile phone or utility company, you would say a world class score is like plus 20. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah. No, it's
it's
incredible.
interesting.
So let's talk a little bit about Simpson Travel that you joined. So it prides itself, you look at the website, look at a lot of the stuff that you produce about a family background of the business. So tell me a little bit about that. Are they still involved, the original founders? How active are they in the business?
Yeah. So Simpson has a very long history. It's kind of over 40-year history. Originally, it was started as Simply Travel
Hmm.
by Graham Simpson in the late 70s, and that grew and grew. Started in Crete selling self-catering apartment villa holidays, and then
Yeah,
grew out into additional programs throughout Europe, and um, and also skiing and things like that. And in the late 90s, 1998, Graham sold that business to Thompson, then became TUI.
yeah,
It took a few years off, and then the people who sort of went over to TUI in that sale approached him and said, we want to sort of regain the magic of Simply, and we think we can open a new business that kind of has those values, which are essentially passionate people delivering excellent service with deep product knowledge, essentially.
yeah,
Start it again and build it up. So in 2002, Simpson Travel was born, and we're a premium end, high end European villa operator and boutique hotels. So we got some good
yeah.
product differentiation in there, quite unique in our marketplace from that perspective. And we've got some other interesting product lines as well. So it was born, and it's grown and grown to where we are now, which is a circa 40 million revenue company, taking 8,000 bookings a year, 25,000 passengers or so. Um,
Wow.
Graham's family joined Simpson Travel. He's got three children, and they joined during the Simpson Travel build in various roles. So while Graham is no longer in the business and kind of stepped away at the point of our transaction, which was about a year ago, the his three children remain in the business and work with me on a day-to-day basis in driving it forward.
Brilliant. And it's a nice thing to have, isn't it? Because I think it keeps certain values that other businesses can't claim. Especially with looking at your portfolio product and obviously your customer profile, it's going to be something that actually resonates quite strongly, doesn't it, with them?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've worked hard to kind of define our kind of USPs, and having a family feel is certainly very much part of what we've done with our team that we work with, our employees, with our customers. We got a loyalty, highly curated sort of loyalty club feel as well.
Hmm.
So all of those things are really important. And reflecting on your podcast title, Steve, "Swim Against the Tide," I really feel when you look back at things in the Simpson history, we have swum against the tide at various points. One of our
Hmm.
original strap lines of the company is the road less travelled, right?
Yeah,
And not just about finding destinations which might not be on the classic tourist path, which we have done, and we're known for doing that. Um, but also the road less travelled it comes from a poem, and it signifies an alternative way of doing business, really, or alternative way of living. Actually, in the poem, don't always take the easy path. Don't always take the quickest shortcut to do things. Take the path that isn't so well trodden, the road less travelled, and you will be all the richer for it in the end. So maybe it requires a bit more
nice.
effort
Yeah,
to get there, and not to just do mass market villa operators. As I say, we're also hotels, but mass market villa operators scale quickly. They go for volume. They go for 3,000 villas in our portfolio, etc. We've got maybe 500 products in our portfolio. It's a lot more curated. It's a lot more specialist. It's not scale in that same way.
yeah.
And the relationships we have with villa owners and hotel owners, etc., are a lot more personal, and we think that we deliver a better quality of products for that.
So you don't own any of the properties; they're all you. You're basically a management service and for
Yeah,
them.
we're a tour operator rather than a travel agency. So we contract direct with property owners overseas, but we don't own anything. Some of them we have on quite long rental agreements. The longest we've ever had is a 10-year hotel rental agreement, but
Yeah,
often they're kind of 2 or 3 years. And we're taking, as one of our kind of customer USPs, we're taking exclusivity on the large bulk of what we do through
yeah,
different kind of contract arrangements. But it means that you can't find the villa on our website with other people
yeah.
trying to sell it as well. And again, that relates. It all comes back to delivering fantastic service, because we've got about 70, 80 overseas team on the ground dedicated to us, not working for other people. They're kind of Simpson team, acting as concierge team overseas, and we can achieve that because we've got kind of density of product that is booked out for 20 weeks in a villa a year. That means we can deliver that kind of add-on service.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. So let's go a little bit and talk about you again, because you're here and the guest. So you've obviously, when you explained about your history, and a lot of it was hands-on, operational, running, and trying to make sure that the promise of the brand is delivered literally on the ground. How have you found that your sort of development into a wider MD CEO role and picked up? We always know this. There's more stuff to do that you didn't realise was to do. How have you found that change?
I think so. I've been fortunate that I've throughout my Simpson journey I've kind of bolted on different parts. As originally when I first came in, as you say, I was employed to deliver the experience on the ground, and then within a year I had the post holiday experience, the customer service team transferred
Yeah,
to me, and then within another couple of years I had the pre-holiday team transfer to me, and then post COVID with a bit of restructuring, I suddenly had HR and legal and risk, etc., and ultimately now everyone. Um, so it's I'm fortunate enough that I've done it in a little bit of a phased way, especially after COVID. Um, but I think reflecting on the key changes here, from being very operational to being an MD CEO, it continues to be more and more always about relationships and people. And it's strange because when I was the ops director, you've got really key functional KPIs. Net promoter is
Yeah.
one that I've mentioned. You're in control of these items, and you've got your team working with you on a day-to-day basis on these, and the accountability kind of sits totally with you. And when you move up into a kind of CEO role, I think you have much less of that. You have much less control of the functional KPIs. Well, we've just been through our objective setting process, and all of my objectives are basically other people's objectives that are the top objectives of the company. So I need all my team to deliver their objectives for me to deliver
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me
That's
to deliver
suddenly
mine.
reliant, aren't you, on that? Yeah.
And it's all about relationships, people, the lack of being able to execute something personally, and more about how you build the team around you to do that, and all the kind of stakeholder management of managing the chair, managing investors, managing ex-shareholders, everything that kind of wraps around that, really. So yeah, it's a realization, really, that at this level, it's always pretty much exclusively about people and relationships.
Yeah, it's interesting that point you say there, because a lot of people that I've met on the podcast and just in my career too, they talk a lot about when you get to that stage where you've got to trust others to do a job that you used to do. And you're not in an arrogant way, but your natural thing is, well, I could do that better and I could probably do it quicker. And you've got to be so disciplined having to go, no, I am now paying somebody else to do that job for me. Yes, I will give them direction, but if
And I
you
think
start doing that, you're not doing the right
you've
thing.
really got to get the hiring right. That's probably when I look at, what are the five things that I do. I call them, what are the five things that I do as an MD. What are my most important sort of behaviours? Number one is definitely recruiting the team, and getting the right people on the bus. And from an ops perspective, for example, I probably took maybe longer than I should have, and certainly saw more people than than maybe the kind of recruitment manual would say you should, to try and find the right person. So that, absolutely, as you say, Steve, you can find the right person that you trust to be able to execute, and you go, right, well, you've got the ability to do things, your way, without me feeling that I need to intervene or jump in or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's fascinating, isn't it? It's not easy though, is it? But like you say, and that people angle from it. So in terms of then, you've got would you say a good team now in place in the core areas of the business?
Yeah, we after the transition, we recruited two more directors to help us in the next stage of growth. One of which, as I say, I mentioned, our new ops director, who replaced me in my departmental responsibilities, and then a CFO to help us really drive strategy and data and return on investment, and thinking further ahead than perhaps we've been guilty of before in a family kind of setup of business, and thinking further ahead in the terms of the outcomes of what we want to achieve, because we are now private equity backed, and that essentially, one of the truths from that is we will sell. We'll sell again. When you're private equity backed, you have to
Yeah,
grow the business,
you're on a
and
journey,
sell it
aren't you?
at
Yeah,
some point in the future. It's not just the case that it will always be owned by these investors. So our new CFO helps us do that. We've got a new chairman on board as well, with Paul Carter, who's a seasoned travel industry veteran, but also, really importantly, has got recent executive experience. That was one of the things I really wanted to bring in with a chairman, someone who was not long out of an executive
yeah,
role, because I think
yeah.
that's really helpful as well when you've got recent.
That their hands been in. Yeah, obviously
Yeah,
we both know Paul. He's great because his experience also covers such a wide variety of the industry too. Because sometimes we talked about echo chambers, haven't you? And travel falls into sometimes categories where you could just be in short-term rental, or you could just be in there. And I think having a balanced view, because I mean, one of his core roles is to proactively challenge you to make sure the strategy's right. Although work
Yeah,
with you, and you want someone that's coming from a different angle. Where I didn't think of that. Thanks, Paul, because that's what they're there for, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So has there been, obviously you've taken the investment last year, has there been many other changes since then? That was the exit of Graham, was it, within that deal?
Yeah, Graham exited, our non-exec director, who'd been with us for 7 or 8 years, exited as well as part of that change. But as I said, the family all stayed on
Yeah,
in
good.
the business, which was great.
That's a bit
And
of a ringing indictment for the business as well, isn't it? The
yeah,
wonderful that they want to keep going and driving to build
hugely,
what they.
hugely passionate about wanting to achieve and deliver the next stage, and exciting, an exciting plan for growth. Really. Um, I suppose I really wanted to achieve a feeling that for the team, they wouldn't feel anything had changed. They
Yeah,
wouldn't feel that they were being asked to do differently, or there was, the big bag private equity were coming in and
yeah.
cost cutting, etc.
Slashing here and
Slashing
there.
everything and changing our values. And I really feel that, you ask our team now a year in, and they would say nothing has changed. And extension of that were our customers. I wanted them to feel the same thing as well.
Yeah,
That because that our customers, you mentioned demographics earlier, Steve. Our customers, a huge proportion of them are in sort of A level, A B jobs,
yeah,
directors, company owners, lawyers, accountants. They've got plenty of work experience to understand what a private equity transaction may
yeah,
may mean for the business. Um, and so it's important for them to feel that the values of the business haven't changed. And
yeah.
I see and monitor the customer response survey system, and a couple of times this summer, or last summer, after it had happened, people had written in their customer surveys, "I've been on holiday with you, and I used to have 4 dishwasher tablets in my welcome pack, and now I've only got 2. And I know private equity have come in
Oh
and
no.
cut your dishwasher tablets." And I rang them up. I picked up the phone and said, "Hi, it's Ed. I'm the MD of Simpson Travel. I just want to say sorry, and I just want to reassure you, it's nothing to do with private equity. It's just us that have messed up. We've not given you
Yeah,
enough dishwasher tablets in
yeah,
your welcome pack. So just be reassured, there is no change from that side of things, because private equity and risk capital partners who invest in us, one of the absolute fundamental reasons they invested was our customer loyalty, our
yeah.
customer retention, our net promoter. They'd been on holiday. The key investor there had already been a Simpson customer before. He'd
Ah, okay.
experienced all of that, which was great. His brother was a Simpson customer, and also a shareholder of the company as well, a former shareholder. So it was really key for them that we maintain that kind of value of quality and excellent customer experience.
I love that. And they've got a lot of experience, haven't they? They've made other investments in your sector too, so they understand the sector, which I
Yeah.
think helps.
They've got
So
they've
then,
got really good sector discipline, and many private equity are will say I'm sector agnostic. We'll look, or we'll be very broad. We'll look at B2B or B2C businesses, but risk capital kind of they understand their swim lane and their deep expertise, which is essentially hospitality in the main, and then a spin off in one direction in travel, a little bit of spin off into retail, and their travel investments have been pre-COVID, so this is the first
yeah.
one post-COVID that they've gone into. But
Well, that's positive that they're still staying in the sector, isn't it? As well, from your point of view, that they've obviously invested into it.
I think from a travel industry has had a very tough few years with investment. You were only just 2024 was really the first year that transactions started to happen that again.
Yeah,
And obviously 2020 and 2021, the sort of core COVID years, people definitely didn't want to
no,
invest unless it was a distressed asset that
yeah.
they wanted to
Trying to
pick
get a
up.
deal. Yeah,
And then after that, in the 22, 23 phase, people weren't exactly sure what normal revenues were, because you were kind of going from bust to boom very, very quickly,
Yeah.
and is this sustainable, etc. So it's taken until 2024 for M&A to really gather pace in the travel industry.
And you can it sort of makes sense, doesn't it? And like you say, for a business like yours that's in a good position, then you're going to make hay then now, aren't you? So it's perfect. And that's what they'll be looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is the start of 2025. Should be a pretty good year, M&A and travel wise,
Yeah.
and especially private equity. You hear all the time that people have been sitting on assets for far too long and want to make something happen there, or equally sitting on cash in their funds for too long and want to invest it there. So I think that 2025 is going to follow the same sort of curve of 2024 of being upward from an investment perspective in the travel sector.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of looking forward then and looking at trends, what trends are you seeing in the market? We did some research recently with a couple of our clients. One was an airport, one was Leeds Bradford Airport, and looking at what they were seeing and asking holidaymakers about that. And there tends to be a bit of a trend, slightly shorter stays that see. This is a global picture, not specifically for your target market. A later booking window, so people are hanging on, either hoping for a deal or realizing they're not coming. And then the other one, which I think is really interesting, and we'll have to split these points up, is about this yearning for a real local experience when you arrive at your destination. Gone are the days where we want to go to a hotel where we just wrapped up and we don't actually see any life of where we are in Greece or Turkey or France or Italy, etc. Are you seeing that with your demographic of client?
Yeah, I think we would reflect an awful. I mean, we've always provided the kind of local experience connection, self catering, and even our hotels are B&B. Essentially, we
Yeah,
want people to be out and exploring and
yeah,
interacting with the communities and putting money into the local
into that
restaurants
low,
and,
yeah,
and economy. So to a certain extent, that one has always been there for us. We have built out various kind of add-on experiences with what we've done over the years. We've got a really good activities experience more program, as we call it, for boat hire or horse riding or bringing in private chefs or yoga instructors, etc., and acting as a kind of black book concierge service,
yeah.
to deliver all those bolt-ons to someone's holiday. So you will always typically find that people do want to go to Greece and drive a self-drive boat for a day, or they do. Our
We
customers.
did it last year.
There you go. Our customers will want a private chef for a special evening in their villa. And we help organize and facilitate all of that. But I agree with you from a booking perspective. It kind of gets divided into two camps, and especially post COVID, which re-educated a lot of people to go more towards the last minute, because they didn't know if they could travel or not, etc., or what was going on
Yeah,
with
very
the
true. Yeah,
economy. So they are going to hold on longer, and we equally, on the flip side, we got huge amounts of people who want to get in early, huge amounts of people who say, I want this specific week, and people ring us up all the time, and I think even there's some people holding weeks for 2027 at the moment, saying, I like this room at the hotel and I always like it to be on the first week of July. Can you just reserve it for me 1 or 2 years in advance? Because it's
amazing.
not necessarily about the cash, but it's much more about ensuring that they get what they absolutely want down to the specific room or villa or date of travel. I think also an interesting trend that there was a huge amount of 99.9% of COVID issues were bad
Yeah,
in
yeah,
essence, but at least COVID showed people the um, the worth of having a travel specialist provider who wraps everything up for you and is
yeah.
one supplier. So, pre-COVID, we were a bit nervous about the rise of booking.coms or
You do
Airbnbs and
all, yeah, you bring it together yourself, sort of thing. Yeah,
DIY stuff. But really, I think COVID showed people actually there is a huge amount of value in a travel agent or a tour operator who is your one source of contact. And we package flights and car hire or transfers all together for people, and deal with it all ourselves and organise it. And that has become, I talked about one of our first strap lines of the road less travelled. That is the essence really of our kind of current brand promise, which is that your time is precious, our service is exceptional. So we recognise that it's sometimes a lot to go off and book different and research different suppliers, and then go and do your flights and go and do your car hire, and we're just bringing it all together, and serving it all in one place for you.
Yeah, and like you say, it's more because Alex Saint, when we had on from Secret Escapes earlier in the episode, and he talked about that very point and the nightmare that it was when COVID, when it went wrong, and he said, I was basically paying people to give money back. They was paying this team to get the money back, but he said that was one of the best things they did because those customers are 100% loyal and everybody's come back. And he said, it was a wonderful thing of we looked after them in the moment of need, and now they look after us by returning again and again. And that's probably what you're saying there, isn't it?
And I think, goes to the whole point of customer obsession. Those companies that win out are the ones that are customer obsessed and customer first. That's what I've always sort of believed from the Premier in teaching days, especially.
It's funny how stuff stays with, doesn't it? That we remember someone tells you something, and it's just always that reference point in your head. But it's good stuff, isn't it? And it works.
It is, yeah.
So you touched on there about obviously the local aspect, and sustainability is the other huge, both opportunity and maybe challenge for some businesses in your sector. People talking about the fact that you travel and it involves air traffic, etc. So what are you doing as a business to make sure that you're putting the right foot forward on that area?
So I mean, we've got this team on the ground, and that is a huge benefit in this scenario, because they can take action and adjust our kind of service proposition. And you're right, Steve. You have to get someone from A to B on a plane to go to Greece, and you can take a train to Greece if you really want to, but it'll take quite a long time and quite a few changes. But parking that, which I can't really control in order to service the business, what can I control locally to make a difference? And that is the essence of our kind of responsible tourism mantra and our agenda that we put in place for years, a bottom-up approach to that, driven from our team on the ground, and starting with little things, right? And some of it is very basics, especially in the UK, but it's not basic overseas in some other markets. Recycling, for example. Greeks don't really have a recycling program. There's no government recycling program. It is ground up, bottom up driven. And so we put money into, say, the local recycling efforts of Corfu, staffed by volunteers, and we put money into making sure there's segregated options for the bins in our villas in Corfu, etc. We look at and provide a Hessian shopping bag, Simpson Travel branded shopping bag in all of our destinations, all of our villas, so that you can take it out with you, you can shop with it, you don't have to dip into plastic bags, etc. You can also take it home with you and have Simpson branding walking around your local town. So
works both ways.
It works both ways. We've looked at, for example, laundry detergent in our villas, and the laundry detergent that you get here or whatever, in plastic wrapping, etc. We've done away with that, and we've moved to a very sustainable. They call it an eco egg product, where it's filled with pellets, and one egg will do the whole season of washes in that villa. So customers don't have to buy anything. We don't have to supply it. We just put the eco egg in. So, a range of that and a range of kind of local sponsorship opportunities. We've invested in planting new olive trees in Italy and Puglia with the local community, etc. Our teams are out every April. We do a kind of beach clean day globally, so we get 70 of our team across Europe out with black plastic sacks and cleaning beaches ahead and removing plastic from the oceans, etc. So it's all very much rooted in what can I control, what can I do to make a difference, locally, and that's the starting point for us.
That's brilliant, isn't it? And I think these are the aspects of a business you don't realise. You thought, oh no, I'm just going to get people on holiday and get them packed off, and it's like this, because this is for me the only way that this world will change is by corporates like you making changes, because governments haven't got the appetite for one reason or the other, which we won't go into today. But it's going to be like businesses such as yourselves that are taking it seriously and understanding. Yeah, you might say we're just doing our bit, but if everybody does their bit, then the change will come, and
Yeah.
actually will out the businesses that aren't as well, and it'll become a negative.
And then, the evolution for us is working with our suppliers. We've done that with our teams. They can control what they can control, but our villa owners. So we're starting a program this year on sort of villa owner education. We've done an audit of your villa. We've spotted these kind of points specifically on environmental responsibility. We suggest that the next time you buy a washing machine as an eco mode, or have you thought about installing solar over here, etc. So we're doing that next and trying to educate our supply chain on the issues as well.
I think that's crucial. Is it, again, a former guest, I think you might know, Dale Smith, who runs Host and Stay, so UK self-catering business. And he spoke about the property management that they're offering now, which is reducing sort of the energy efficiency of properties by 30%. By the way, they've got automatic lights that switch off when people are obviously out. The heating's on at a level that keeps it nice and warm. Everyone jacks it up. And there's so many good things from that. One, for the guy that owns the property, his bill's 30% cheaper, but then it's making an actual difference to the world.
Yeah.
And you have the power to do that. Even in the world, not even 500 properties, you can make a difference. And if everybody else then suddenly sees, Simpson are doing that, we're going to have to do that as a basic offer. Because it'll become part of your offer, won't it? People want to know that this is, from your clientele.
I think it should remain a kind of uncompetitive playing
Yeah,
field with so you can talk to your competitors
yeah,
about these kind of things, and that's what we're always trying to encourage. We're in a foundation in Greece alongside key competitors to us, where
yeah.
we're doing it for the good of the community, and it's
Brilliant.
environmentally focused.
Very grown up. I like it. So, quick bit of reflection now. So, you've obviously had the investment, you've had some changes, you've got a new chairman, etc. What's the next couple of years looking like? What are you going to use sort of that investment for? Where's going to be the focus? Is it a bigger footprint? Is it more properties there? Yeah, what's on the plan?
We were lucky, as I said, to bring investors on board who fundamentally believe in the values of the business and what we're doing. They believe in how we select and curate our product or our service proposition, etc. So we don't necessarily have to do anything fundamentally different to the business to achieve what they want to achieve in terms of growth and return on investment from their capital as well. There is a bulk of opportunity ahead of us in terms of growing our brand awareness in the UK. That's a strategic focus for us. In terms of opening more destinations just in Europe, we still run a fairly tight destination list. Again, versus some of our competitors who do provide access to more destinations, and we get people who sometimes have had 5 holidays in Greece with us and say, we'd really like to travel with you again, but we're going to try Croatia next year, and you're not
Yeah,
in Croatia. If you were, we'd buy from you, but maybe we'll see you again the year after for a Greece holiday. So there's the opportunity there to service kind of more of what we do in destinations in Europe as well. And we'd like to do some M&A. We did some pre-COVID, some small stuff, having an investment partner on board allows us to sort of reset our M&A ambitions and make them slightly larger as well. So a combination of those kind of things and continuing to put the customer at the heart of everything that we're doing will see us right for the next few years of this Simpson growth journey.
Brilliant. Exciting times, exciting times. So then, got a little bit of a reflection on you. Normally a couple of questions we ask all of our guests. One is, well, I mean, you started pretty early. I don't know which Ed we'll talk to. Maybe the 18-year-old. Let's get your A-levels out of the way, because you've obviously all got to go stay in school nowadays. What piece of advice would you give yourself, or do you wish you'd known then when you started off, dabbling into the Eurocamp world and bits and pieces?
I think, and I reflect a bit on this with my sons as well. I've got two boys, and having the opportunity to travel and see the world is great, and I would always encourage them to go and do that, and instilling that early work ethic, even if it's just being a kitchen porter in a golf club at 16 or whatever. That's important, and extension of that, find what you're passionate about, because there can be loads of distractions and things can come along, and you might get job offers, but if you're not passionate about doing something, there's no point living life unless you're passionate about what you're doing, I think. So finding your passion, and then kind of probably the second one is taking the opportunities when they come. I've said yes to things that I had no clue of what to do. They came in the last few years. I'd never done corporate finance or selling a company or crowdfunding campaigns or dealing with lawyers. No background in that whatsoever. But someone came along and said, do you want to lead this project? Yes. I think opportunity
and then learn how to do it. Yeah, it's like
learn how to do it.
If
they believe in you, they can see there's transferable skills. Learn how to do it. And I think opportunity, something that someone said to me once, and has always stuck with me. Opportunity is a tennis ball. It's thrown at you, and you've got a split second to react to opportunity. You can catch it and go with it, or it flies right past you, or drops you, and you don't get another tennis ball catch. So you've got to recognise when someone is coming to you saying, do you want to go and do some corporate finance and sell a company? Yes or no? Well, dither around. No, take the opportunity and go with it.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. Well, I mean, you've done that, haven't you, with the rest of it? You got those opportunities, and well done for your dad for kicking you out.
Absolutely, he's got a lot to answer for. Definitely, listen to your dad. That's probably the.
There you go. Listen to us. Listen to us now. Well, hopefully, our children are listening to this later. We're always right. They just don't realise yet. Ed, that's been so interesting. Thank you very much for spending some time with us and telling us your story. And hopefully it'll inspire some people to get into the career and also take a holiday with Simpson Travel, more importantly.
Right, it's been my pleasure, Steve. Thank you.